School discipline is the perfect case study for the anatomy of a win in building healthy communities. Building power, youth leadership, collaboration, leveraging resources, and then finally changing the narrative. Those are the ingredients for building healthy communities. That's what we call the drivers of change.
I got suspended the first week of 8th grade. It was this girl that I didn't know. She started saying a whole lot of stuff about me, and then we just started fighting out of nowhere.
The way that things are being handled and students are being hassled is just by zero tolerance policies that make it impossible for students to really, shine or do anything at all, without feeling guilty or without feeling like they're being stuck in a prison or feel like they're prisoners themselves.
My freshman year through my sophomore year, there were a lot more suspensions.
I used to see a lot of my friends that would get suspended and expelled over little stuff. They would say cuss words in class, and the teacher didn't like them, so they would send them to the principal's office, and they would get suspended for 5 days at a time.
They used to give tickets if you were late to school, and that would make me not go to school some days.
And there are so many instances and circumstances where students are suspended or expelled because of, minor offenses.
The extent to which some of these school districts went to punish young people, it was creating a heavy burden, particularly on low-income people.
Never be divided. People united will never be divided. People united will never be divided. The people united.
Our young people had an opportunity to speak to the endowment board, and they brought up this issue of school discipline and how passionate they were and wanted to make a change and thought it was unfair for young people to be kicked out of school.
They said that particularly young men of color were being systematically marginalized and stigmatized, and even, to use their term, criminalized.
I'm so glad that we have so many of you here today, to really represent the struggle that we've been going through, an issue that deeply affects not just students, but the entire community as a whole.
So the interesting history about school discipline as a community health issue was nowhere on our radar screen as a foundation.
We were kind of split. Some people were saying, this is not health, we should not be doing this, we're spreading ourselves too thin, we're not experts in this space.
And it took us a little bit to say, wait a minute, they're right. It is healthier for young people to be in school in a healthier, safer environment and not being in the street.
Students missed over 32,000 days of school due to suspension.
Success stands for Students United to create a climate of engagement, support, and safety. Success, as a coalition, really was a youth-led effort to ensure that students stayed in school, were supported, and on track to graduate.
Initially it all began with just young people coming together. The interviews, the surveys, the talking to young people, talking to parents, administrators, teachers, we began to advocate.
The young people also were adamant about meeting with the superintendent so that the superintendent could hear directly from them the type of impact that school discipline policies were having on them, their friends, their family members, and others that they cared about.
We have been working on this for about 3 years now. We conducted research and lots of focus groups within Fresno Unified School District students.
We have, over 1,404 petitions. We also have around 521 online.
We have found a solution of restorative justice to see more students graduating and seeing a beautiful future for them.
so the board wanted to go in this direction of restorative justice. That is a win, a victory for everyone here.
So in Fresno, we've been able to see suspensions and expulsions fall. We've been able to see young people succeed, and we've been able to know that we have changed a culture at the 5th largest school district in the state of California.
When I think about what TCE's contribution was to the school discipline reform issue, I think the framing of it as a statewide issue was something that we were able to contribute.
Your voices are the reason we are here today, and your voices are also being heard at the highest levels of state government in the state of California.
At my school, Roosevelt High School, we organized and fought back.
I've been going to school in Oakland like my whole life, and the principal don't know half of the kids.
So I was sitting with Oakland youth who had been living the school discipline nightmare, and they saw the kids in Fresno come on the screen.
Now, I'm not sure if you all know, but Fresno is the 4th largest district in California. So one of our outcomes is to increase school attendance.
And the kids next to me just were jubilant about not being alone.
Some of them actually said, wow, I didn't realize that the issues that I see in Sacramento is happening in LA, it's happening in Oakland, it's happening in Fresno. So it's really powerful for all of them to get together and hear each other.
And that all started because some young people had the courage to speak up, the wisdom to join with each other, and some help, stitching that coalition together across the state. So that kind of started the ball rolling.
You've got to create collaboration, really kind of super collaboration, where you have people that are working in the systems, in this case the school system and in the criminal justice system and in the health system, coming together to think about school discipline.
There is a big question about what the role of police should be in our public schools.
What I begin to see is that our cafeteria was converted into a police processing site.
This transparency, this working relationship, this collaborative environment starts with communication. In these meetings, the fact that we're here, we're present, nothing ever changes if we don't talk.
The work on school discipline reform certainly preceded building healthy communities that have been going on for many, many years in Los Angeles and other places.
Here in Los Angeles, there's been a real center of actual organizing, right? That means that, groups like Cadre in South Los Angeles, groups like Youth Justice Coalition, groups like the Strategy Center, groups like Inner City Struggle on the East Side have been some mainstays of building organizations around ending, punitive punishment in the school to jail track.
All of them shared kind of this basic thing that there had been a historic disinvestment in South LA, there was an over-policing of our schools and our students, and that we really needed a level of accountability, and that the community-driven solutions, because they were there, needed to be uplifted.
In South Central LA and in East LA now, we are sending more young people to prison, unfortunately, than we are to college.
They don't know who or have ever met their school psychologist. But when asked about school police, they know them by name.
And I think one of the great things that TCE did was really begin to figure out how do we knit together multiple and effective community-based organizations who have been organizing youth and parents on this issue for a very long time.
We all just merged our platforms together to create a strong joint platform with lots of other organizations that allows us to support each other and push for a lot deeper change.
How can we create a space for LAUSD to use tools that it has to not only get students back into schools, but keep them there?
We believe that this amendment codifies many of the important negotiated agreements to lower fines and to create a cap on fines overall is in the right direction.
We want more diplomas, not more convictions. Don't let the leaders of tomorrow be treated as criminals today.
Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you so much, young people, for marching with us.
and for being there and for helping us adults do the right thing. Thank you. Thank you.
We were one of the first cities to implement, daytime curfew laws. Now this is a major curtailment on that curfew law. I think it really sends a strong message that the city, that LAUSD, that the courts are basically saying, look, we need to go another way on how we're going to support our young people and how we're going to keep them in school. I think it's an incredible victory. It's 5 years in the making easily. For a lot of the young people who've been with us when they were 15, now they're 20. Or they were 17 and now they're 22, this is a major victory for them.
Today at the LAUSD board meeting, we passed the Bill of Rights. We're making it students for the next generation that are going to make it to graduation and have long, sustainable lives because of today and because of the work of all the youth behind me and all of the parents and the teachers who came together to organize for the Student Bill of Rights.
We passed a landmark policy that's going to have a major impact on the suspension rates to Black and brown students.
That Bill of Rights really eliminated the ability of teachers to use willful defiance as a reason for suspending students. So it's a huge win. I think it's the first district in the state to eliminate willful defiance.
Today, we made history.
They said we would never get rid of willful defiance as a suspendable category, but the movement has done it. They said that we would never get rid of truancy tickets, but the Community Rights Campaign and the movement has done it. And so today, we have to continue that fight. So it's a call to you as community members, as parents, as school administrations, to continue the momentum of this fight and push back.
One of the things that TCE was able to do was to bring together people who were equally outraged by this issue. And they, because we don't do legislation, they independently decided that they needed to pursue some legislative changes. And they pursued 10 pieces of legislation. And over the years, they've managed to get the majority of them signed into law.
So for us, we feel it's important to not only have our own regional areas working together, but also statewide, because then we can align what our demands are, what our fight is, and then leverage each piece, the region with the state with the region. So I think that's why it's important to be able to work with all of those different groups.
We need change in California. We need to better ourselves and our community.
No one had brought to the attention of Sacramento in a meaningful way the conversation about discipline. But I don't think the momentum was there until the Building Healthy Communities and the local voice came up to Sacramento.
We need to see how we're going to bring about tangible, positive change to all of our communities and throughout California.
It's that combination between that local work with that student voice and those kind of trailblazers and first adopters that prove that it works and that we can do this, and we should change state policy to make sure that it's supportive of all districts throughout the state.
When Los Angeles Unified became the first school district in the nation to end the suspensions for disruption and defiance, that followed the first wave of state legislation.
So we had a grassroots issue that emerged and became statewide policy. Once it became statewide policy, it had to be implemented down in school districts, not just in the 14 school districts of Building Healthy Communities, but in all the school districts across California.
Now, 4 or 5 years in, we're seeing the suspension numbers decline, but we're also seeing some pushback, right, at the schools from teachers who say, I haven't been given the resources and the training and the support that I need to make this new school discipline approach work.
It's really great to pass a policy, which is like the first step, but really getting that implemented at the local level is always a challenge.
The biggest implementation challenge is getting buy-in from staff. You always say staff buy-in. They say you need 80% staff buy-in to implement restorative justice effectively. I actually think you need 100%.
So I think the biggest challenge is really getting the buy-in from a lot of the teachers, a lot of the faculty, a lot of the deans, and even school police who have been doing the work that they've been doing for so long with a very specific training. So it was a lot of reactionary things that were happening instead of preventative.
You know, there's the beginning of a change in the narrative. For everyone to be able to see themselves in this authentically, from teachers to students to parents to community, it's evolving now, and I think at the right time.
This is an amazing kind of moment in time to me. Look how far we've come, and look at the catalog of wins across the spectrum that we've had. When can you look at any series of policy things and see this many things happening all together at sort of a local and a statewide level and converging at once, that the result can only be one that is truly powerful and truly transformative?
Resistance is going to emerge, it's going to get stronger, but it won't beat us. As long as we stay together, we stay tight, we will keep winning.